You have never made a single tool with your bare hands. Not really. Not from nothing. Everything you use today was built on a machine, in a factory, by another machine. But for more than 2.5 million years, that wasn't an option. If your ancestors needed a blade, they had to make one, right then, out of a rock. And the way they did it is far stranger than hitting two rocks together. You've probably heard stone tools described that way. Crude, simple, cavemen bashing rocks until something sharp fell out. But the real answer is far stranger. Making a stone tool wasn't luck. It required planning 3, 4, 5 steps ahead, holding a final shape in your mind before you ever struck the first blow. In some cases, it required a kind of engineering more precise than anything a modern person could improvise on their first try. Ready to see how? Go back 2.6 million years to a dry riverbed in what is now Ethiopia. A hominin picks up a rounded stone. Not just any stone, a specific one, dense and fine-grained, the kind that breaks in a predictable way rather than shattering randomly. This is the first decision. Long before the first strike, there's already a judgment being made about materials. That stone becomes what archaeologists call a core. In one hand, the maker holds the core at a careful angle. In the other, a second stone called a hammerstone. The hammerstone comes down, not randomly, but at a specific angle against a specific point on the core's edge. If the angle is wrong, nothing happens. If it's right, a flake pops off, thin and sharp, with an edge keener than you'd expect from a rock you tripped over in a parking lot. This is called percussion flaking. It's the foundation of what researchers call Oldowan technology, named after the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania where these tools were first studied in depth by paleoanthropologist Mary Leakey in the 1930s. And here's the part that surprises people. Both pieces were useful. The flake became a cutting edge for slicing meat or plant fiber. The leftover core, now with a jagged edge, became a chopper for breaking bone. Why does a chopped bone matter? Because inside it is marrow, one of the richest sources of fat and calories available on the ancient landscape. A sharp flake wasn't a convenience. It was calories your ancestors could not otherwise access. Stone tools didn't just help early humans survive. In a very real sense, they helped rewire the menu of an entire species. For hundreds of thousands of years, that was it. Strike, flake, repeat. Simple. Then, around 1.7 million years ago, something changed. Homo erectus began making a new kind of tool. Instead of a single strike, knocking off a useful flake, the maker now worked the entire stone, both faces, over and over, removing flake after flake in a controlled sequence, until a symmetrical, teardrop-shaped blade emerged. Archaeologists call these Acheulean hand axes. And if you've ever seen one in a museum case, you already know they don't look accidental. They look designed. Here's the strange part. Making one required something psychologists call forward planning. The toolmaker had to hold the finished shape in their mind before it existed. Every strike had to account for the strikes still to come. Remove too much stone in one place, and the whole shape collapses. This isn't hitting two rocks together. This is closer to sculpture. Some hand axes found by researchers show a level of symmetry that would take you real practice to replicate, even with modern hand tools and a diagram in front of you. And these weren't one-off masterpieces. Homo erectus made them for over 1 million years across 3 continents with remarkably little variation in style. Whatever process was being taught, it was being taught precisely. And it was being taught for longer than modern humans have existed. If Acheulean hand axes required planning ahead, what came next required something even stranger, planning backward. Around 300,000 years ago, Neanderthals and early modern humans developed something researchers call the Levallois technique, named after a Paris suburb where these tools were first identified in the 19th century. Instead of striking a core and hoping for a useful flake, the maker prepared the entire core first. Small flakes were removed methodically from the edges, shaping the stone like the domed back of a turtle shell. Every one of those early strikes had a single purpose, setting up one final blow. When that final strike came, it didn't just knock off a flake, It knocked off a flake of a predicted size, a predicted shape, and a predicted sharpness, determined entirely by the preparation done beforehand. Researchers studying this technique have described it almost like following a recipe baked directly into the stone. All the difficult cognitive work happened before the final strike. The final strike itself was almost simple by comparison. Think about what that means. The maker wasn't reacting to the stone anymore. The maker was predicting it. Later still, toolmakers refined their methods even further with something called pressure flaking. Instead of striking the stone with another rock, they used a pointed tool, often made from bone or antler, and pressed it firmly against the stone's edge. This let them pop off tiny, controlled flakes with far more precision than any hammerstone blow. This is how the finest arrowheads and blades in the archaeological record were made. Thin, sharp, and almost unnervingly symmetrical. None of this happened by accident, and none of it happened without material knowledge. Toolmakers didn't grab just any rock. They sought out specific stones like flint, chert, and obsidian, because these materials fracture in a predictable, shell-shaped pattern known as conchoidal fracture. Grab the wrong kind of rock, and no amount of skill saves you. The stone simply won't cooperate. So here's the strange truth hiding underneath all of it. For over 2.5 million years, before writing, before agriculture, before almost anything you'd call civilization, humans and their ancestors were already engineers. They studied material properties. They planned multiple steps ahead. They taught precise techniques across generations, sometimes for 1 million years without significant change. Long before anyone could explain physics, ancient toolmakers were already applying it, one careful strike at a time. You live in a world built by people who never touched a rock with intention to shape it. Everything around you was manufactured by a process you didn't witness, using knowledge you don't personally hold. But the impulse behind it, the desire to look at raw material and see a tool hiding inside, that impulse is not new. It's not modern. It's ancient. You have never made a single tool with your bare hands. But somewhere in your history, someone did. And everything you touch today exists because they figured out how.